They thought they could break him with a shove. They had no idea an entire city would answer. Henry Malik was 78. He had hands shaped by decades of driving, skin leathered by sun through glass, eyes sharp from years of watching streets and reading faces. He drove a faded yellow 1984 Checker taxi, paint chipped, vinyl seats torn, but engine still alive. Every dent carried a memory, every scratch a story. His wife's name, Layla, was carved into a small plate on the dashboard, a reminder of why he never gave up. He never bragged about his medals from serving overseas, never told passengers about firefights or medals tucked away in a drawer. He kept quiet and let the road hold his stories. The stop began ordinary. 2 flashing red and blue lights behind him on a quiet downtown street. A voice on the speaker ordering him to pull over. 2 officers stepped out. Mark Taylor and Jessica Reed, young, arrogant, and hunting for easy numbers. They circled his old taxi like vultures, circling something they thought was weak. They mocked. The faded car and the grey-haired driver. Henry moved slow, calm, handing over license and papers. His hands trembled from age, not fear. His silence made them reckless. Reed barked an order and Taylor shoved him against the hood. His lip split against the metal, the taste of blood filling his mouth. Pride hurt more than pain. From the small cafe across the road, Miguel Torres noticed. Miguel was a fellow driver, a taxi man for 30 years. He knew what he was seeing, the quiet dignity of a veteran being humiliated. He grabbed his phone, dialed 1 number, and spoke only 2 words. "It's Henry." That was enough. A low roar started in the city streets. A horn answered, then another. Headlights began to appear at intersections, streaming toward the scene. 1 car, then 3, then 10. Within minutes, 40 yellow taxis rolled in, surrounding. The police cruisers in a circle of steel and light. The air itself shifted, as if the city had taken a side. At the front was Jack Bulldog Mason, a former Marine captain turned taxi union leader. He stepped out of his cab, shoulders broad, presence commanding. He faced the officers and said firmly, "Step away from the man." Taylor smirked, tried to posture, but his hand twitched toward his holster. That tiny move was a mistake. 6 drivers moved forward instantly, phones raised, recording from every angle. Henry stayed silent, blood on his lip, eyes steady. "Bulldogs." Voice cut through the night like a blade. "Bad choice, son. You think you scare men who've driven through riots, buried friends, and seen the worst of this city. Put the gun down." Reed's face went pale. She understood. They were trapped. Cameras everywhere, witnesses everywhere, and worst of all, no fear in the eyes watching them. A neighbor, Mrs. Parker, stepped from her apartment balcony with her phone raised and shouted, "I filmed everything. They shoved him for nothing." The drivers erupted in anger, but Bulldog raised his hand, holding them disciplined. "We don't need fists. We've got the truth." Within an hour, city deputies arrived, called in by witnesses and dozens of drivers. The sheriff saw Henry's bruised face, saw the ring of taxis, watched the videos, and made the only choice he could. Taylor and Reed were arrested for assault, abuse of power, and civil rights violations. Henry was lifted gently by his fellow drivers, placed back into his taxi. The old man looked at the yellow cabs surrounding him, eyes watering, and finally spoke just 1 line. "I guess I wasn't driving alone after all." The clip of the shove, the blood, the flood of taxis and the arrests went viral in hours. Social feeds exploded. Millions watched as a quiet veteran taxi driver was humiliated, then rescued by a brotherhood of wheels. The world felt outrage and pride at once. The drivers never used violence. Instead, they repaired Henry's old Checker cab. They replaced the worn tires, polished the chrome, patched the torn seats, and repainted the faded yellow. They fixed the nameplate on the dash, carving new letters for Layla, never alone. They set up a fund for Henry's medical bills and created a hotline for independent taxi drivers facing harassment. Newspapers ran the story. Taxi Brotherhood defends veteran. Talk shows replayed the footage. Council meetings were forced to address policing practices. Henry never chased attention. He drove quietly again, but now never alone. Some nights he rolled through the city in a convoy of yellow cabs behind him, lights reflecting off wet streets, engines humming like a choir. He would tap the dashboard nameplate and whisper, "Thank you." He spoke once at a city hearing, voice soft but steady. "You don't have to fight alone." Taylor and Reed lost their badges, their careers, their reputations. They became a cautionary tale, while Henry became a symbol of dignity and quiet strength. People donated money, veterans offered to ride with him on shifts, and cafe owners told him his coffee was always free. For Henry, the road had always been medicine. His taxi was not just a car, it was his companion, his shield against loneliness. Silence had always been his armor, but the shove that night had cut deeper than usual. It wasn't pain of body, it was insult to honor. Miguel's call had been precise. He did not tell them to fight, he told them to stand, and they came, drivers from blocks away, neighborhoods across town, men and women in cars that had carried lives for decades. They did not need guns. They needed headlights, horns, and cameras. Those images, the shove, the rumble of engines, the circle of yellow steel, spread faster than any argument. Critics tried to call it intimidation. Supporters called it justice. The video made the truth undeniable. In days, Henry's story became more than one man's. It became every driver's. It became every veteran's. It became proof that dignity is not measured in age or shine of a car. It is measured in who will stand with you when the road turns rough, and that's how two reckless officers chose the wrong old man in a yellow taxi and triggered a brotherhood of wheels that rolled in like thunder to deliver justice. Henry still drives today. Some nights he parks by the river, headlights of fellow taxis glowing in the distance, and he smiles, because the city reminded him of one truth etched into steel, rubber, and road. When one driver is attacked, all drivers roll together, and that is why people shared the story. Why? Millions pressed replay and pressed share, because it showed honor, loyalty, and justice in a world hungry for all three. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and remember, never underestimate the quiet strength of those who've carried us through every street, every ride, every night we needed them.